The U.S.-Japan alliance has been a cornerstone of peace and stability in the Asia-Pacific for decades, serving as a bedrock for regional security. Forged in the aftermath of World War II, the partnership has been characterized by shared values, economic cooperation, and a common defense outlook, creating a robust alliance. However, recent years have witnessed growing tensions and points of divergence, casting a shadow over the future of this critical relationship, which once seemed unshakable. From trade disputes to foreign policy disagreements, cracks have begun to appear in the once seemingly unbreakable bond, challenging the resilience of the alliance. The U.S. and Japan, once united in their approach to global challenges, now find themselves increasingly at odds, struggling to find common ground. The Trump era, with its America First rhetoric and unpredictable foreign policy, exacerbated existing tensions, making cooperation more difficult. Now, even with a new administration in Washington, the underlying issues remain unresolved, and the path forward is still uncertain. Japan, under its new leadership, appears increasingly determined to chart its own course, pursuing a more independent foreign policy that at times diverges from Washington's priorities, signaling a shift. The U.S.-Japan alliance, while facing unprecedented challenges, remains vital to both nations' security and economic interests, underscoring its importance. The U.S. relies on Japan as a critical ally in a region facing growing challenges from China and North Korea, highlighting the strategic importance of the alliance. Japan, for its part, depends on the U.S. security umbrella for its defense, ensuring its national security against regional threats. The two countries are also major economic partners, with deep trade and investment ties that benefit both economies significantly. The stakes are high for both countries as they navigate this period of uncertainty, with much at risk for their future relations. The decisions made in Washington and Tokyo in the coming years will have profound implications for the future of the Asia-Pacific and the broader international order, shaping the global landscape. The question remains, can these two allies bridge their differences and forge a new path forward, or will their historic partnership continue to fray in the face of mounting challenges, testing their resolve? The 2023 to 2024 Gaza conflict exposed a stark divergence in U.S. and Japanese foreign policy approaches, highlighting the complexities of international relations in a rapidly changing world. While the U.S. remained steadfast in its support for Israel, providing military aid and political backing, Japan adopted a more cautious stance, reflecting its unique historical and cultural context. This difference in approach was evident in Japan's reluctance to label Hamas a terrorist organization or explicitly endorse Israel's right to self-defense, a stance that drew criticism from Washington and other Western allies who viewed Japan's position as overly neutral. Japan's more measured response, while criticized by some, reflects a deeply rooted pacifist tradition and a desire to maintain open channels of communication with all parties in the conflict. This approach, however, put Japan at odds with the U.S., which viewed Hamas as a terrorist organization and supported Israel's right to defend itself. This divergence highlighted a growing trend of Japan asserting its independent foreign policy, even when it means disagreeing with its closest ally. The Gaza conflict underscored the challenges facing the U.S.-Japan alliance in a multipolar world, where alliances are constantly tested. As global power dynamics shift, Japan is increasingly unwilling to blindly follow the U.S. lead, particularly on issues where its interests and values do not align. This independent streak is likely to become more pronounced in the years to come, requiring both countries to adjust their expectations and find new ways to cooperate on the global stage. The Gaza conflict was not an isolated incident but rather a symptom of a broader trend: Japan's growing willingness to chart its own course in international affairs, even if it means facing criticism. This new assertiveness, driven by a changing security environment and a desire to play a more prominent role globally, is likely to continue to test the U.S.-Japan alliance in the years to come, shaping the future of international diplomacy. The U.S. decision in early 2025 to block Nippon Steel's acquisition of U.S. Steel, citing national security concerns, sent shockwaves through the Japanese business community and further strained relations between the two allies. The move, seen by many in Japan as protectionist and politically motivated, raised serious questions about the future of U.S.-Japan economic cooperation. The Biden administration's decision to intervene in the Nippon Steel deal was met with anger and disbelief in Tokyo. Japanese officials, including Prime Minister Kishida, publicly expressed their disappointment and demanded a clear explanation for the national security threat posed by the acquisition. The move was particularly jarring for Japan, coming on the heels of the Biden administration's emphasis on strengthening alliances and promoting friend-shoring, a policy aimed at relocating supply chains to friendly countries. Adding fuel to the fire were inflammatory comments from the CEO of a rival U.S. steel company, who publicly labeled Japan as evil and accused them of unfair trade practices and collusion with China. These remarks, while condemned by both the U.S. and Japanese governments, further inflamed tensions and highlighted the deep mistrust that exists within certain sectors of the U.S. business community towards Japan. The U.S. steel dispute, coming amidst already strained relations, has cast a long shadow over the future of U.S.-Japan economic ties. It has also raised concerns in Tokyo about the reliability of the U.S. as an economic partner, leading some to question whether Japan needs to further diversify its economic relationships to reduce its dependence on the United States. The Trump presidency, from 2017 to 2021 and 2025 to present, has cast a long shadow over U.S.-Japan relations, influencing diplomatic and economic interactions. Trump's America First policies, often perceived as unilateralist and protectionist, created friction with many U.S. allies. But the impact was particularly pronounced in Tokyo, where the government had to navigate a complex relationship. Trump's personal relationship with Japan was also fraught, marked by a mix of transactional deal-making and public criticism that often left Japanese officials bewildered and frustrated, struggling to predict the next move. While Trump enjoyed a relatively cordial relationship with former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, his interactions with current Prime Minister Fumio Kishida have been noticeably cooler, reflecting deeper tensions. Trump's decision to decline Kishida's request for a meeting following his 2024 election victory, a courtesy extended to other world leaders, was widely seen as a snub and a sign of the strained relationship. Trump's return to the White House in 2025 has rekindled anxieties in Tokyo, raising old concerns. Japanese officials are particularly concerned about three key issues. First, Trump's repeated demands for Japan to shoulder a greater share of the costs associated with hosting U.S. military bases on its soil. Second, the potential for renewed trade tensions, with Trump having previously threatened to impose tariffs on Japanese automobiles, which could impact the economy. Finally, concerns linger about Trump's willingness to sideline Japan in pursuit of a grand bargain with China, as he attempted to do with North Korea during his first term, leaving Japan feeling marginalized. The Trump factor has injected a significant degree of uncertainty and apprehension into U.S.-Japan relations. Japanese officials are now forced to contend with an American president who is deeply skeptical of alliances, prone to unilateral action, and seemingly uninterested in cultivating close personal relationships with foreign counterparts. This new reality requires a delicate balancing act from Tokyo as it seeks to manage the alliance amidst an unpredictable and potentially disruptive U.S. foreign policy, ensuring stability in the region. Japan's relationship with China is, well, a complex and multifaceted one. Historically, these two nations have experienced periods of both cooperation and conflict. Today, Japan's strategy towards China involves a delicate balance. On one hand, there are economic ties that are vital to both countries. On the other, there are security concerns, especially in the East China Sea. Japan aims to navigate this intricate landscape by strengthening alliances with other nations, including the United States, while also engaging in diplomatic efforts to ensure regional stability. It's a challenging path, but one that Japan is committed to pursuing with a blend of caution and pragmatism. Japan has often walked a unique path, balancing its own interests with those of its allies. While deeply connected to the United States, Japan has also sought to assert its independence. This delicate dance has shaped its foreign policy for decades. The economic ties between Japan and the United States are undeniably strong. Trade, investment, and technological exchange have created a web of interdependence. However, strategic interests sometimes diverge. Navigating these complexities requires careful diplomacy and mutual understanding. As the world shifts towards a multipolar order, Japan and the United States must adapt to new realities. Emerging powers and shifting alliances will challenge the status quo. Both nations will need to be agile and forward-thinking to maintain their influence. Looking ahead, the future of U.S.-Japan relations will be defined by cooperation and adaptation. Both countries face common challenges and opportunities. By working together, they can build a partnership that is resilient and forward-looking, ensuring stability and prosperity for both nations.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.